Stay tuned because next up is The Hop. That's Home Ownership Podcast with Village Properties Realtor David Charles Allen.
Welcome to The Hop. This is David Charles Allen, Realtor at Village Properties in Santa Barbara, California. With my really good friend and co-host, Patty Teal. How you doing, Patty?
I'm doing wonderfully, David. Thanks for asking.
Doing amazing today as well. We got some rain these last couple of days here in Santa Barbara. Really needed. It was really nice. The sun's back out today. Looking ahead to temperatures throughout the mid-high 60s, even way up to the mid-70s the next coming week, and potentially a little more scattered rain here and there.
Oh, I know everybody in Santa Barbara must be happy to get that rain. I have to tease you a little bit, though, David, because you told me how hot it was last week at 73. So if it gets up in the mid-70s, is everybody in Santa Barbara going to be okay?
I think we'll be okay. It was just really weird. It felt way hotter than what it was. So
I must probably have something to do with the humidity. I don't mean to tease you. It's just that being out here in Florida, we get such hot, humid weather that it sounded just wonderful to be at 73.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're a little spoiled out here, that's for sure.
Uh-huh.
And in terms of the surf, too, we've had a couple fun days of a little wind swell action. Some people advise you not to go into the water after a big rainstorm just because all the runoff, but people do it. If you want to have some fun, there's definitely some waves to be had out there.
Yeah, I understand. My son's a surfer, and he'd always be out there when they were giving those warnings not to. So I think it's just irresistible.
Yeah, it's right. And then in terms of interest rates, they haven't fluctuated since last week. So 4.5% for 30-year conforming and 4% for 30-year non-conforming.
Ah, that's interesting that they've just kind of stayed steady after kind of a relatively big jump.
Yeah, big jump. Then we had big decrease, then back to a big jump. Never know what's going to happen. People, I hear all the time, it's going to hike 5-6 more times, and who knows?
Right. I've been hearing that a lot too, although I never know if the sources I'm hearing it from know what they're talking about or not. So we just have to wait and see.
That's right. Yeah, I don't think anyone knows what you're talking about because no one has control over it. So you can make your best assessments, and there's always going to be some giver, something you can watch, but it's hard to know which one's going to be correct.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And then in terms of how the statistics have performed, we had 41 new listings, 6 price changes, 37 that closed, 36 that went pending, and 3 that were coming soon. And again, out of those new listings, we had 6 that closed off market. So essentially 35 new listings, and with 36 being pended, no buildup of the supply. And then again, we're not even breaking the 40s in terms of new listings. We should be at 50, 60, even more new listings per week, but we're just not getting there.
Right. I wonder if early summer will change that. I guess it's another one of those things. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, you had an interesting point last week about those off-market listings. While it can be really convenient for sellers and even buyers who make those deals, it can make it hard for the general public looking for a house.
Yeah, and that's why there was this restrictive policy put in place about clear cooperation, which essentially means you're not allowed to market your property off market to other brokerages, but you can market it to other agents within your own brokerage. So it's a little complicated, and it doesn't really make any sense because people are going to sell their property off market if they want to, if they don't want to deal with the process. But instead of you being able to reach out to every agent saying you have this off-market opportunity, you are only limited to sharing it with people in your office. So while on the surface it sounds good, like, yeah, everything should be coming to market publicly so everyone has a fair chance. In reality, I'm pretty sure it's one of these bigger brokerages that have lots of agents that are just trying to keep everything in-house. They're the one that passed this law. That's my thought.
Is it like a rule that everybody has to go by?
Yes, everyone has to go by it. A lot of people still sell it. There's a lot of weird stipulations to it. You still see all the time that stuff closes off market from agents at 2 different brokers' office. So there's always kind of a workaround. But if you do it over and over and over again, you get fines and then more fines, potentially lose your license. It's this thing in place that's really made things more restrictive when they were supposed to make them less restrictive. And again, I always hypothesized that it was one of these bigger brokerages that have a bunch of agents. So agents are no longer to shop it off market to other agents at different brokers. They have to sell it in house, and then they get both fees. So,
ooh, well, we're getting the inside track from you. That's very interesting. I suppose the intention of the rule may have been good or maybe not, depending on who brought it to pass. There's some sort of a realtor's board that passes these things.
I forget how this was passed. I know it started in Washington, D.C. with a couple lawsuits, and then I don't know how it transgressed from there. It sounds good when you hear it and you're like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. And then in practice, it doesn't work out that way.
Oh, well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Any questions for me today?
Yes, David, I did have a question for you today. In the neighborhood that I'm living in, sometimes a house seems to be way below market. I know that you probably wouldn't advise listing your house below what it appraises at, but it got me to thinking that maybe that was some sort of a ploy to get a bidding war going rather than really trying to sell their house for a very low price. Is that a strategy that some people try to utilize?
It is. It's tricky, though. It can go wrong. It can go right. In this market, you can't really go wrong by doing it. You can't price a market too low. But the realtor is going to be doing a lot of extra work for people. Example, there's one person in town that listed their property at 1.1, and it was probably like a $1.5 million property. The agent got a handful of letters from buyers, which you're not allowed to do technically anymore either, is get buyer letters. A handful of agents from buyers that are like, this is all we can afford, like just begging for her house. And like, our budget's only $1 million. Like, we need this house. And then you got the standard offers that are like $1.5 million plus. It's just one of those things. You're kind of setting people up as well who may not really be able to afford it.
I see what you're saying. When you're putting your offer in, is the realtor allowed to tell you that it's too low, that somebody else has put in an offer that's higher? Or do they guide you to say, really, I don't think you have a chance unless you offer this much? How does that work?
It's a very gray area, so to say. You're allowed to disclose what people's offers are unless it's written in the contract that you can't. But as a good agent, you're never going to tell someone exactly what their offer is because you obviously want the mystery of what really it is. So maybe the other offer is 320 and you say, yeah, it's a really good offer. It's over asking. And then the other person, instead of offering 325, if they might have known it was 320, they might offer 375 now and just be like, I need the house. So you were insightful in a way, like you're saying, like, yeah, it's really low chance that you're going to be able to secure this house at that price, just to give people a heads up so they're not wasting their time. But you don't want to give away too much because then you're losing the leverage of the mystery of what someone else is offering. It's very, very complicated in a sense.
Yes, and that's, I imagine, why it's so important to work with a realtor who will guide you but not break any rules and help you to secure the house that you really want in a legitimate, forthright way.
Yeah, I think that's what it's all about, is being transparent. As a realtor, you never make the decisions. You tell them all the informations, the different options, the different varied ways each situation could go. If you're going to do it this way, if you're going to do it that way. And then you let them make the decision and then you just do that. But you're never telling someone what to do with their home, or if something's of good value. You really just relay all the information you gather, you decipher it, you give it to them so they can understand and be informed to make a decision on their own.
That makes sense, David. Before we go any further, if people are listening and they might want to get in touch with you, could you give your information?
Yeah, my number is 805-617-9311. And my email is david@davidcharlesallen.com.
Thank you, David. Now I get to find out how the fur babies at home are doing.
They're all doing really good. We took them out in the rain and the mud yesterday, so they were loving it. We got some deep mud and gave them all a bath. It was fun being out. They were experiencing like some deep mud for the first, or at least Moose was. Bailey was walking.
Moose is the puppy.
Yeah, Moose is the puppy. Bailey was walking around. She had these mud shoes on and she had no idea. Mud shoes. She had no idea what was going on, like mud caked on her paws.
Oh, so funny.
She was running all funny and like didn't know how to run and was just like,
oh, I hope you took pictures. That sounds so cute. Now, how did you situate the bath? I imagine you don't have a bathtub for Jazz and one for Bailey and one for Moose. So did they have outdoor baths? Did you keep some of them outside and bring them in one at a time? I mean, inquiring minds want to know, how did you make this happen?
Oh, yeah. You just keep them outside the whole time. Just hose them off.
Hose them off. All right. Wasn't too
simple.
cold.
They don't get cold. They sat out in 5-degree weather for hours in the snow.
Okay.
So
They're tough.
they don't seem
pups
to get
and-
cold when it comes to that.
All right. Well, I'm continuing my progress with training Ollie to be a service dog, and we're doing pretty well with that. I'm starting to feel a little more confident that pretty soon, when I'm ready to take a flight, he'll be able to go on the plane with me. So I'm excited.
That's good. I love it.
Thank you, David. We got a lot of good information this week from you, David. We always do, but this was especially interesting what the realtor legitimately does and doesn't do as far as advice and why people price their homes under value at times, the strategy that they're trying to use. So great information.
You're welcome, Patty. Look forward to giving it a go next week.
All right. Thanks so much.
Bye, Patty. See ya.
Bye-bye.